Hey, Kings and Dragons, Drag King 551. We're going to talk about college football realignment for the 2024 season that is coming up very soon. So first off, I just want to talk about these teams right now first. So first off, you can see that I have standings here. Now, I'm not going to talk about these weaker conferences. I'm going to talk about the conferences that I'm very concerned with how this is looking. Like, look at this. The Atlantic Coast Division, a lot of 2 and O's and 3 and O's in the top. Miami looks great. Miami could be coming back as a good team. Louisville looks pretty good. And Duke is 2 and 0. Florida State doing well, UNC doing well, Syracuse doing well, Wake Forest doing well. Everyone else doing okay. Big 12, you know, BYU, Cincinnati doing okay. Kansas is in there. Kansas State doing well. Um, a lot of teams doing pretty well there, but you got to look at Oklahoma here. 2 and 0, moving to potentially the SEC. Texas moving there, out of play, looking pretty good. Let's move over to the Big Ten. Big Ten, you got Ohio State, Rutgers, both playing conference play. You got Michigan and Maryland 2 and 0. You got Michigan State 2 and 0. You got Penn State 2 and 0. These look like really strong teams this year. And then you got Iowa 2 and 0 and Minnesota 2 and 0 in the Big Ten West. Let's go over to Independence. Independent, Notre Dame's doing really well. If they want to move, they should. I really don't think they should be staying where they are. Let's go Pac-12. This is what I'm talking about right here. USC at 3 and 0 has one conference play. Colorado 2 and 0, Oregon 2 and 0, Oregon State 2 and 0, UCLA 2 and 0, Utah 2 and 0. I mean, they're all 2 and 0 for the most part. So, with that being said, you know, Colorado is going to they have a pretty good defense, but they're playing Oregon soon, who's Oregon's up there. And USC is going to struggle again if they're playing Utah or any of these other teams, if their defense cannot fix what they're doing. Yes, their conference play looked good on one of their teams, but let's look at USC. So these are their these are their 3 games so far or whatever. And they played Stanford and they shell shocked Stanford, but we know that Stanford is not is not that good of a team. So with that being said, Stanford is not that great of a team as they're 1-1. USC's better, but if you can't fix your defense, you're going to be bad. All right, let's go to SEC. SEC West. Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi, Bama struggling, LSU struggling. 2 teams here that were supposed to be really good got shell shocked by 2 out of conference play teams, Florida State and Texas. 2 teams that could be in the college football playoff when it's all said and done. And, everything else. Georgia's still 2 and 0, Kentucky looking good, Missouri looking good. I don't know about Vanderbilt. I don't know what they're doing down there, but yeah, I don't know what these other teams are doing. But as you can see, a lot of them are doing okay. Um, with that being said, when you have this, you got to talk about all of this because, 2 new teams are coming in, Oklahoma and Texas. And, I think that's that. So let's go back here. Let's talk about it. So, first off, I don't know how I feel about it, but I do think having better competition in the Big Ten, SEC, anything else is good. Only because at the time when I did this, there were only 3 teams that I know that are usually good, and it's in the Big Ten East. And that's Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. And it can be the same said, but you got to watch out for these Pac-12 teams because, my goodness, at a conference play for these Pac-12 teams that are coming into the Big Ten and going to the SEC and going to the ACC or whatever and moving to the Clemson division, you have got to watch out for these teams that are moving to the Big 12 and everything. Because let me tell you right now, Colorado is moving to the Big 12. That's going to be a tough team, in that thing. You're going to have all these other teams and everything else. The problem here is that, it's going to be stronger. It's going to be more intense. The days where the SEC were light years ahead is over, okay? They are no longer light years ahead. There used to be 10 years ago, before the whole entire 14 format, before Alabama was good, guess who reigned supreme? The Big Ten. Yeah, you see my Michigan poster? The Big Ten was the team that for about 5 decades or 4 decades, for like the 60s to the 90s, was winning championships left and right out there. You got Nebraska, you got Michigan, you got Ohio State, all of them winning championships out there. Back 1900s, winning late early championships, even though no one was around. It's still a championship, regardless, even though it's not what it is today. There's still championships. So the days where the SEC have only been relevant for 10 years are starting to fall off. Georgia may be the only team to represent, but you're seeing that the Big Ten has gotten better. Michigan has gotten better. They're no longer a weak football program anymore. They're getting better. These Pac-12 teams that are coming into the Big Ten and going to compete and into the U.S. and the other teams that are leaving in the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas, who are now moving over, are going to be stronger. Lincoln Riley is going to be in the Big Ten instead of in the SEC. He's going to have some trouble. So I don't know. So yeah, I mean, the conference is not that great of a conference, but I mean, no one is. You always get these weak ass teams, and then you play against them, and your team's always stronger because you recruited better and you developed your players better. But by adding 4 new teams, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, you have upgraded the competition. So in a regard, you have upgraded your competition. The same can be said about moving teams from Pac-12 to Big 12 and moving teams from Big 12 to SEC. You're adding more competition, which at the end of the day, when you get to the 12-team expansion next year, you're going to have strength of schedule as a big factor to determine why you got in as one of those 12 teams. Not because you won your conference championship or anything and you won your Big Ten championship or whatever, but because you must get in based off strength of schedule. Imagine this as Michigan and Ohio State fans and everyone else that plays. Michigan plays 4 teams. Let me just bring it out to you. Let's say right now next year they're playing Texas, which is strong. Texas is going to be a strong team. So they play Texas, then they play USC on their schedule. They play UCLA. And I don't know if they're playing Oregon or Washington. But imagine having those 3 teams, and UCLA is a top 25 opponent. USC is a top 25 opponent, and Texas is a top 25 opponent. You beat all 3 of those teams. Now, Ohio State does the same thing, plays 3 different teams, plays Washington, Oregon, and I don't know, let's just say LSU or Florida State. And they beat all 3 of those teams. Now, what you're going to have to do is that if all 4 of those Big Ten teams that are now transferring over from the Pac-12 into the Big 12, and you play them and the current Big Ten teams beat those 4 new teams, you're going to have to look back at when they beat them and when they were a top 25 opponent, because they are going to drop in the rankings and stuff. But when you get to the college football playoff rankings, you're going to have to see 1 through 12 and who's up there. But you're also going to have to say, well, did they beat a top 25 opponent? Well, of course, let's say Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, and Michigan also plays Texas, right? They play all those teams. Okay, Texas was ranked 5. USC was ranked 4. UCLA was ranked 8th, and the other 2 were ranked like 10 and 15. Okay, well, now you beat all those top opponents. You deserve to be as one of the ranked top 10 opponents. You deserve to be ranked in the slot as 1, 2, 3, or 4 and getting a top seed and getting a bye week. But it is what it is. I do think that college football realignment is a good thing. People are saying, no, it's a bad thing. It's going to be bad. It's going to be like the NFL. They keep changing some rules to make it like the NFL. But personally, I think that the Michigan football and the college football realignment, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I do think that if teams cannot fix their defense, they're going to be in a rude awakening. I also think that by adding 4 teams, it's going to help in a way. Let me explain. When you have USC and UCLA, where are they? They are in the Coliseum in Los Angeles. What is Los Angeles known for? The weather of 70 to 80-degree weather. Imagine Michigan and Ohio State playing in that. Now they're battle tested in warm climate weather. Oregon and Washington are up on the West Coast up there close to Canada. However, they don't get that cold. Yeah, you can get down to like 35, but you're mostly 50-degree weather. Washington's 50-degree weather most of the time. You don't get snowy weather. When you go towards Michigan and Ohio State, that's where you get snowy weather because it's right there up against Canada. So, I mean, it's right there. It's right there up against Canada. And, you know, wherever it is, every team is going to have that. And so when it comes late November or December, when you're playing Michigan, you are going to have a rude awakening, Southern teams. If you have to go into Michigan or Penn State to go beat them, you're going to play in a cold environment where you've been playing in a warm environment this whole entire time. In a warm environment the whole entire time. That's why adding Colorado to the Big 12 is a big thing, because guess where Colorado is? Colorado is a state where it gets cold in the winter, wherever they're located. Imagine a Denver's team. You know, Denver's cold. It's the Mile High City for a reason. That's why it's good with this realignment, because when teams come in, it's not all about warm climate teams, except for probably Oklahoma and Texas. But if you're going to play in an environment like that, you're going to be battle tested. It's not fair that most of the bowl games are in warm climates and stuff. The Rose Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, all of them are in warm climates. So it's not fair to the colder teams where they play in warm weather for the first couple of weeks, but then when they get into October, into November, they start playing cold in a cold environment where their muscles are tightened more. It's harder. So at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be the way it is. And that's all I got for you guys. But I think that college football realignment is going to help teams. It's going to help with warm and cold environment issues. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a better thing. So until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one. And we'll see where this goes.